I'm here today with John Kay, a fellow at St. John's College at Oxford University and a visiting professor at London School of Economics. We're talking about his new article for INET, The State of Economics. John, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Rob.
Well, let's start with the state of the world. We've been looking at the 1930s as an example of what could go wrong, but it seems like we're repeating it today.
Well, what we're really repeating is the debate of the 1930s, that it's austerity versus stimulus. And more than that, if you look at the positions that people take up, you can predict with almost complete certainty what they're going to be on the basis of the previous political views that they have expressed.
Yes.
And that fact tells one it's a disagreement about ideology, not about facts about the economic world.
You know, Bob Solo said to me recently, show me your estimate of the fiscal multiplier and I'll tell you which team you're on.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that's right. And what that tells us about the state of economics, I fear, is that despite all the work that's been done on macroeconomics since the 1930s, it actually hasn't advanced the policy debate very much, if at all.
In the article that you prepared, you talk a lot about modern macroeconomics, the dynamic, stochastic, general equilibrium model, and you really focus on the thinking of people like Lucas, Prescott, Becker, John Cochran, all centered in Hyde Park at University of Chicago. But they're not alone. This has almost been the professional consensus in recent years. How do you feel about what they assert to be proper economics and proper macroeconomics?
They live in a world in which consistency and rigor are, as it were, the requirements of what they describe as a scientific model. That is, a scientific method is essentially deduction from a prescribed set of axioms. And these axioms rest in rational choice, and they take you into, in financial market theory, the efficient market hypothesis, and in macroeconomics, looking at the equilibrium that is generated by agents behaving in that way. Now, to do that, you actually have to make a whole series of simplifying assumptions. Now, as I say in the paper, there's nothing wrong with making simplifying assumptions. Actually, in thinking about the world, you have to do that all the time.
Separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yes.
And,
but what they're doing is not so much trying to separate the wheat from the chaff. That is saying, in order to examine this phenomenon, I have to abstract from certain features of the real world that may not be essential to this problem. So that physicists, for example, talk about frictionless planes or the motion of falling bodies in vacuums. And that's not because they believe the world is frictionless or that we live in a vacuum. It's because it's too hard to study everything at once.
yeah, it's a good model for a brick,
Yeah.
but not for a feather.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, you use your judgment and your broader knowledge of the world to decide whether this is more like a brick or whether this is more like a feather. And that's how science actually, real science, does advance.